Our next speaker is Peter Marcus, Group Operations Director at Entain. We are particularly happy to have him with us today because Peter's particular responsibility is helping ensure the long-term sustainability of Entain's business model by better protecting players. Peter, I'm extremely interested in hearing more about Entain's approach to responsible gaming and player protection. The floor is yours. And thank you for traveling this far to be here. Thank you very much.
We're doing it in English. So and there's no clicker. When I wait for the clicker...
The clicker is...
There, great, thank you. Let me start the Entain story, because a different regulator, the UK Gambling Commission, CEO, spoke to the Entain board 2.5 years ago. It was a private conversation where the CEO and board members of Entain have a discussion with the regulator. And he asked a very simple question. How come this industry, in particular the top people in the industry, are so good at marketing? We know exactly what bonus to give to what person at what time with the right action to get the right deposit. That's our expertise. That's actually where the online industry has the real expertise, is CRM and acquisition and getting the right people involved. You're really good at that. So why can't you use the same marketing approaches to market safer gambling? So you can market to the people that are perfectly fine, the number one group, the way you normally market, but market the same approach to people who might have issues or could become issues or have issues in safer gambling. Use the same techniques. And you know what? It's a phenomenal challenge. And that's what we took on board as a business. And we're not the only ones. There are other companies out there that took a similar approach. And that's where we built ARC. And ARC simply is a CRM tool for safer gambling. It's a way to actually manage safer gambling and identify customers and communicate with customers who show signs or will show signs or potentially show signs of safer gambling. I loved the previous example of a car. We've got the same one, because that's what Volvo did. What did Volvo? Volvo didn't put speed limits on their cars. You could have done that, a very basic tool. And you can only travel 40 kilometers an hour at any point. What they did is put airbags around the whole car. They made the front of the car stronger. So if you did get into a crash, you're safer inside. And that's actually how we say safer gambling. Let people gamble they want to gamble as long as they're safe, but have protections around people to make sure they don't get into trouble. Not after they've got into trouble, to make sure they don't get into trouble in the first place. We have 3 fundamental elements in Entain and ARC, and Entain is probably the first or second largest group in the world if you take all of our business together globally. The first one is safer gambling is all our responsibilities. I'll tell you today that Entain, in their annual bonus scheme for every single employee, all 29,000 employees globally, 15% of their annual bonus is based on safer gambling metrics. That says, yes, revenue is really important. Yes, growth is really important. But so is safer gambling. So is protecting our customers. And 15% of that is based on customer setting limits. We do it different in each country, but 15% of the bonus from CEO level down to someone in a retail shop in Belgium are based on that bonus. The second one is technology is our friend. Goes back to the challenge. Technology is how we can protect customers to use it. And the third one is identification and prevention is a lot more effective than remedy. Don't wait till you get to the big problem. Try, and deal with it sooner. But this presentation normally takes 2.5 hours. So I'm going to bring it down to 15 minutes, but if anyone wants a longer, more detailed presentation, it's there. We haven't included everything. I love the number 3, so we've got 3 aims as well. Identify who. That's any key part of any marketing initiative. You need to know who to segment. But not just that, understand why. Because if you're going to communicate properly, it's not just who to communicate with, but why you're communicating with them. That then allows you to implement the right protection. And it's not an email, ever an email. Predict, limit and educate, and prevent. So what does that mean? Let's look at algorithms first of all. We all know the word markers of harm. We call them markers of protection because we believe it's not identifying harm, it's finding protection on people. As you know, the Senate group in the UK and PwC came up with 9 markers of harm, which is pretty much used globally still as the main markers. They're on the left-hand side over here. It's pretty basic. Doesn't do that much. It's a good start. However, in the UK, for example, they banned credit cards. A marker gone. They then banned reverse withdrawals, a marker gone. I'm not saying those are bad initiatives, but it hurt on the markers of harm. And also, the score between 1 and 3 is a real blunt tool. You never use that in marketing, well, I'd use it here. So 2 years ago, we sat down with Harvard Medical School, the Addiction Centre in Cambridge, with Professor Mark Griffiths of Nottingham University, and with Epic Risk Management, which is a group of consultants who had the most severe problem gambling. These are people who went to prison, tried to commit suicide because of problem gambling. We sat down all 3 and said, right, what is it academically and practically that really does determine problem gambling? We then took an AI solution and we took a target group. There were self-excluders, not the best target group in the world to use, but self-excluders. And we took all of these 26 markers, even breaking down between casino and sports because they're very different products, and identified how do we find people that have potential and moving towards problem gambling. As you can see, spend for norm is the most significant marker. You expect that. But the big thing for us is it's always about money and it's not. You know, if Bill Gates gambled, no one cares how much he spends. But maybe he's still got a problem gambling. I'm not saying he has. Maybe he has a problem gambling because he's doing chaotic play, which is chasing losses. Or he's spending 5, 6, 7 hours a night. We've all got kids. We all know what goes on PlayStations. That refers into it as well. So it's not just about money. That's the most important thing we've learned. It's not just about money. Money's there, but there's so many other elements that can create problem gambling. And when you speak to Epic, by the way, money was very rarely the start of the problem. The problem was normally how long they spent, spending away from their family, going on the phone the whole time. It was more about what they were doing and when they were doing it. Money became a problem much later on in the journey. But that wasn't enough for us, because what that found was what we call short-term problem gamblers. I'm not allowed to use this word, but binge gambling. And binge gambling is an important element, but it's not the only element. If you take drinking as an example, if you go to the bar on a Friday night and have a few too many drinks, you'll have a headache the next morning, you may even throw up, but it's not that damaging for you. You just wish you hadn't have done it. You wish someone had stopped you before you got to that stage. But if you go every single night to the bar and you can drink 5 drinks and nothing happens to you, and 10 drinks and 15 drinks, that's far more dangerous. But most of the markers that we all use in the industry don't find that. So we went outside to the industry and we found a tool called Mindway. You'll hear from later on. And what Mindway do differently, they use pretty much the same markers, but what they do differently is they actually have a group of experts that mark customers between 1 and 100 of problem gambling. We're not using a target tool of self-excluders. And I think we all know that only 30% of self-excluders actually have a problem. And there's a lot of academic research to say that. Most of them are just angry with you and try and punish you or want a bigger bonus. And that's why they self-exclude. So this is a different way of finding a target group. And then you use AI to bring the two together. And what we found is that this tool actually finds long-term problem gamblers. The ones that can drink in a bar again and again and don't even know themselves they get into a pathological problem until it gets there. We find pathological gamblers far faster using this tool. So what we did in merging them together, this is just a history of our markers of protection. We started over here with markers of harm, the 9. And there's 72% accuracy, and I'd love to go into detail what accuracy means, but we've got a very complex way of understanding the accuracy of the problem gambler by taking a group and we look at them individually, look at their entire behaviour and see are they actually problem gamblers or not, and have we missed people as well. So it's 72%. You took out the 2 markers, went down to 67%. That means 30% of people we're accusing we a problem gambler aren't, and we're missing a whole load more. It's not great. And then we started building our journeys up to we have this journey today. LTEP is Mindway, and STEP is our system together, and we merge it together. And you can see the accuracy levels, 92%. 100% for Mindway, 95% for medium risk, 80% for ours. We merged those together to find our target groups. And here's the most interesting bit. What we found when we used our model and Mindway's model together is there's only a 20% overlap, which means for years we've been missing a whole load of customers that we should have been communicating with and trying to stop earlier. But it's not good enough just to identify them, you have to do something with it afterwards. And the old days of sending emails just isn't good enough. It doesn't work. Who in marketing sends an email to people these days? It doesn't work. You get thousands of them. It was an excuse just to send something. We want to take actual interaction. So, for our mass market of customers, the 95%, 96% that have no issues whatsoever, we've completely rebuilt all our comms on site to give a very easy help page, and we have a journey during the process of onboarding, not just about how great our product is, but what tools you can use to help protect yourself. Self-help. We also have a budget calculator. Now, we don't collect these details on purpose. It's highly confidential for people. We never collect it, but it helps people determine themselves how much they want to spend on gambling. We find it really used when we don't collect the details, people use it. When we collect details, by the way, in some markets, no one touches it. And we have our comms. On-site comms, not email comms. Email don't work. People want on-site comms. Starting with pop-ups. Very simple, very easy language, helping them to help themselves. But when we get to a more problematic level, and I'm going straight to our medium risk customers based on our markers, there's stuff for lower risk, but medium risk. In a number of our markets today, and this is coming across the world right now, it'll be in Spain by the middle of this year, in the next few months, we have a questionnaire. This questionnaire was written by academics. It came from the PCI studies, etc., but written by academics. And it very simply asks customers a question to help themselves to think, to reflect. But it forces an action. A couple of things you'll notice here. In any marketing rule, yes is the correct answer. And the one on the left is the one you want people to click on. There's no right or wrong answer here, but the happy path of a person with that problem is actually no right the way down. We really push people to reflect, and people spend an average 1.5 minutes filling these 4 questions out. It's a long time. We have a 96% completion, 99% completion rate here. I'll show you some of the stats in a minute. If they have the happy path and they have a concern, they move on. If they hit medium risk twice, by the way, in 90 days, we force them up a level. It's another marker for us. But we carry on. If it's an unhappy path and they fail any of those questions, they get pushed to a higher level. What is that higher level? Well, the higher level is that we forced you to set a gambling control, forced you to set a gambling control. And that gambling control we ask you to set is relevant to the problem you had in the first place. So that's what I was talking about not just understanding what, but why. So we actually push them into it. So this one, for example, we asked them to set a maximum stake limit in slots is because they were chasing losses in slots. Deposit limits don't help there. What helps there is actually setting a maximum limit so you can't keep doubling up in slots. Then you get to very high risk, then we're not prepared to carry on without talking to you at that point. So we push you to our live chat, 24/7 live chat. You talk to our live chat, and we will help set limits from self-exclusion through to a limit through to something else, anything across the board. The other thing I want to show that we're really so proud of is our real time, because it's great to do next day. But how often is it, oh, you shouldn't have done that. Why did you do that yesterday? We spotted today. So we have a number of real-time measures. This real-time is live right now in Spain, by the way. It's actually test trialing right now in Spain. And real-time, for every single deposit, looks if they spent more or less than they normally do. So you take their usual deposit numbers, and we're looking for increasing deposits. It works from the second deposit. The longer it goes, the better it is from a statistical point of view. We have 2 triggers. The first trigger is we say to you, did you know the first 24 hours, you've actually deposited more than normal? It's your choice. But then, if they go to a second trigger, they get blocked for 24 hours. They can't continue to deposit. So I want to go to a couple of slides in my last minute and a half left. We talked about the gambling questionnaire. Here's some statistics. In any marketing, you can't just do it, you have to evaluate it. It was really used I thought it was really great to hear the regulator talk about evaluation of data. Because that's what you have to do. You have to evaluate data to understand what to do next. And we've changed this 17 times based on data. over the last 18 months. But the latest data is 99% of people are happy to fill out the questionnaire. We thought only 20, 30% would fill it out. The rest would walk away. But no, they actually fill it out. 5.3% fail the questionnaire, have one problem, of which 1.4 completely fail it. They say yes to every single question. And my favourite one is the customer said to us, "Thank God you did that to us. I was about to get myself into real trouble." And 12% set gambling controls, even without being asked to. Results of our interventions: 60% of customers who get forced to set a gambling control and set a deposit limit set a meaningful one, under £1,000, I'm using the UK here, £1,000 a month. Why is that important? That's important because we truly believe that when you need to set a limit, you set a reasonable limit, a sensible limit. When you're forced to set a limit very early on, you either set a very low limit or a very high limit, neither of which are sensible. This is when you need to set it, it's when you set it right. And 92% kept those limits. And I'm over time, so I'm going to finish it off by saying our real-time model, 41% of customers who got stopped at real-time unusual deposits went on to not become a high or medium risk. We're preventing them from getting to risk. And my final slide here is probably the best bit of all. By doing these actions, we have seen a 25% reduction in harm within Entain. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Peter. I think there's an opportunity for one or two questions, but one question from me to you, Peter. Safer gambling, what's in it for Entain?
Well, there's a few things. I think, first of all, and I've heard from both speakers today before, nobody wants problem gamblers in our business. It's not something you want. No drinks company wants someone drinking and driving. It's just not something any of us want. It's not good for any of us. It's not good for our revenue because we end up giving it back or having fines. But it's not good for the consumer. And we're consumer focused. So what we want is great recreational customers who enjoy gambling. And we have to accept the fact that we offer a product that is entertainment and enjoyable, but for a very small minority, and those numbers are small, we have to help customers to protect themselves, and we have that obligation to do it. And by the way, that also helps our share price. We're a public company. We need sustainability. We need to show we can sustain businesses. If we can't do that, we can't show sustainability, we have a lower multiple on our share price. So it's selfish, but also it's the right thing to do for the industry. And we're Entain, we're a leader in the industry, and we believe we should and can lead in this area. We're not perfect. We're not perfect. We still make mistakes, but we're trying really hard to lead in an area and improve in this area.
Thank you, thank you. Questions from the room for Peter here. Yes, we have a speaker there from, if you can maybe repeat your name and company name again.
Sorry,
And
my name is Kat or Catalina from Tombola Jib. I do have a question, thank you, first off. So you were talking about there is a tool for proactively preventing long-term problem or addicted gamblers. I'm interested to know about those players. Actually, how is the business approaching these type of players? Are they, introduced with safer gambling tools?
Yep.
And is also the company applying those limits without the user consent, like the...
We'll very rarely apply limits without user consent because all they'll do is go elsewhere and they'll go to the black market in the end. So there's no value in forcing something. If you're at that point, you close them. If you're that concerned, you close them. So we have a number of different tools. We have these limits. We help customers set their own limits at a certain point. Keep in mind, what we're trying to do is find them before they become this problem. And there's much more chance of acting with them and working with them before. One of the metrics we use, by the way, is retention. Commercially important, but also important for this, because if we're just pushing them to another operator or pushing them to the black market, what have we all achieved? Not very much at all, by the way. We're pushing them to a worse protected area. So what we try and do is help the customer help themselves early on in the journey before it becomes such a serious problem, so it doesn't become a problem. If it does become a problem, we always talk with them. We have 24/7 chat. We then convert it into a phone call. We always talk to them. We negotiate with them. Although our staff are first aid trained from a mental health perspective and fully trained by Epic Risk Management, so we know exactly what to watch for. And if we're self-excluding someone, we strongly recommend we self-exclude on the national database because they need to self-exclude on the national database. There's no point in self-excluding with us and going elsewhere. So we try and balance those two together. whenever we can. But in the end, we don't want customers like that. If they're going to be that bad, we don't want them. It's not good for our business. It's not good for them. We try and help them help themselves. And we have even passed them on to places like Epic to have a conversation. When we're really concerned they just lied to us, we'll put it to specialists to actually talk to them, who are far better than us at talking to them, to help them understand themselves what they can do and help themselves.
Peter, thank you very much for your really valuable contribution. Thank you very much.